everyone, welcome to Cheryl's Stitch and Stash, and I have Lucy here with me today. Oh, she's going away. She's going to the other end of the couch. Today my video is about how I wash, dry, organize, and store my DMC floss. And the reason why I do it is a health issue. So if you don't want to hear the health issue part, just fast forward to the organizational part. My health issue is 6 years ago, I was diagnosed with multiple chemical sensitivity syndrome, which is called MCS. And with my MCS, it has to do with smells. Anything and everything that smells affects my body. And some of the process that I go through is when I first get into a smell or run into a smell, what happens is I get really itchy. And then the next thing may or may not happen, I'll start to break out. And may or may not get a stomach ache from it. And then after that, I get fatigued, very fatigued. And then sometimes I may or may not get a mind-blowing headache. So that's why I wash my DMC floss. When I first got diagnosed with this disease, I had to figure out how am I going to do my hobby without having any smells. And I figured out that using white vinegar, if you put your fabric in the washer, which I use 100%, cotton fabric, the smell will come out. But then there are some fabrics where the smell just does not come out, and I either have to end up donating the fabric or I give it to a friend. So this is, I've learned to adapt, which is great. And I could still keep my hobby at the same time. So I'm going to now take you to the organizational part of this video. So here we are at the sink, and I have 4 DMC flosses that I am going to wash today. So what I did is I wrote the colors down on my paper, and I'll show you how I did that. Okay, and now I am going to take, let's say this is my red DMC floss, and I'm going to put the number on top of where I wrote red, and then I am going to put it in the sink of water with 1 tablespoon of vinegar. And I'm going to do the blue one, so that goes with the blue. So this way you know which number goes with which color. And this is the green. I'm just going to throw it in there. And here's the purple. So if they don't sink to the bottom, what I do is I just go in, like this red is not sinking right now. So I'm going to just go in and I'm going to swirl it around until it gets all wet. And eventually it will sink to the bottom of the sink. So that's step number 1. Okay, so these are ready to come out of the sink, and as you can see, I've already done 3 of them. So what I did is I took the DMC floss out of the sink and I squeezed the water out and I placed them on my drying rack, and I went and took, whoops, that fell. I went and took the numbers that were on the paper that matched the color, and I placed them next to each DMC floss. So now we're going to wait for them to dry, and then we'll go on to step number 3. Okay, so now my floss is dried. So what you need for this is tape, scissors, and these white floss bobbins, they're calling them. And I got mine off Amazon. So what you do is, all right, we're going to start with the red color. You take the number and you cut it down to the middle, no, not the middle, the dark line towards the bottom. And I'll show you right here. You're going to cut right here. All right, so I'm going to do that right at that dark line. And then you're going to take it and you're going to cut the sides like this. I'm going to cut this side. And you do a little trim at the bottom underneath the number, just a tiny little snip, right? And you put your number right at the bottom in the middle of your floss. You take a very tiny little piece of tape like that, and you take the long end and you put it over the number and flip it and tape it to the back of the floss. You got to get it just right. So the number is right on the bottom of the middle part of this floss. And then you turn it around like this, and you take a bigger piece of tape, like that big, and you tape it across, just like that. So your number is on there. It won't come off because it's taped on both sides. And so then you take your floss, and I wind, and you wind your floss onto the bobbin. See, I'm just trying to find the beginning of my floss. And, you know, sometimes it takes a little bit of untangling to get it started. So I just need to find the end here. Okay, here's the end. And I wind mine by hand. So I just go around like this. That's all it is. I had that bobbin winder thing, and it just drove me crazy. So I'd rather do it by hand. So you just go up and down. This part doesn't bother me. I just wind it however I can. Okay, so I'm going to untangle this, and I'm sure you don't want me to sit here and wind while you're sitting here watching me wind. So I'm going to stop, and I'll come back when I'm done. Okay, so my floss is wound on the floss bobbin, and the way I store them is on a 3-inch ring. So what I do is first I organize by color, and then on the rings I organize by number in that color. So when I go to do a project, what I do is I take a notebook, write down the name of the project and the number and color that I'm using. So if I run out, then I could go back and get some more. And I will show you where I have these rings. Ta-da! Here is where I store my DMC floss. It's inside a closet. This is one of my craft closets. And to me, the best idea for storing the DMC floss was on the pole in the closet on these rings. As you can see, the DMC floss goes from one end of the closet all the way to the other end of the closet. So, if I have a favorite color that I work on, what I do is I put that on a smaller ring. This is one of the colors that I use constantly. So what I did is I made a whole ring up at them. And if I'm, let's say, hand embroidering in the living room, I take one of these floss bobbins with me. If I'm doing a project with many colors in it, I write down the name of the project in my notebook, and I put the color and number next to it. So if I run out of that piece of floss, I could come back and cut another piece off and know what number it is in that color that I use. So another great idea I have is, and I haven't used it because I don't go anywhere, is you could take these rings with you. So let's say you're going to a quilter's weekend or a stitching weekend, or you're just traveling. You take one of these 3-inch rings, make it up of all the colors that you're going to use in that project, and put them on a ring. It's easy. It doesn't take up any room, and you could just put it in with your project bag. So that's how I organize and store my DMC stash. Thank you for visiting my channel, and happy quilting, happy stitching. Have a great day.